Bradley Beal is being reported by Bleacher Report that he knows he has a decision to make before the draft about whether or not he will officially request a trade. Jalen, it would behoove the franchise if he did so before the draft to help them with that day. Do you think this happens in the next 48 hours?
And shout out to my brother Shiz215. Ain't I Chris today? He even allowed me to borrow his glasses. How about this? So if you're Bradley Beal, when you talk to me about him being moved, you know the first thing I think about? I feel bad for Russ. I feel bad for Russ. His last couple of stops, he got a chance to play with KD, and then he ended up leaving. The team traded Harden. Ain't nothing he can do about that. Go to Houston. Don't really get a chance to play that long again with Harden. Now you get to Washington. Y'all show some promise late in the season, and Bradley Beal may potentially ask for a trade. But here's what I want to make sure I acknowledge for you, David.
What's that?
This is actually a good thing for Russ, because if Bradley Beal requests a trade, that means they talked about it. And if they talked about it, that means Washington can look up, and once training camp starts, there's a good chance that they have a new roster. Is Bradley Beal and Russell Westbrook at this point of their careers the future of the Washington Wizards? I ask you, is that the future? Since it's not, you got to go ahead and start laying them dominoes right now if you're their general manager, Tommy Shepard, because both of those guys' value is as high as it's going to get. And you got to sell high in this case.
And there's so many duos in the league. And Jalen, what do I always say about duos? You've heard this a million times. I like my duos to be complementary. While Beal and Westbrook are both great contributors, they're not complementary players to each other. Something tells me they will not be a duo on the Wizards moving forward. But who will get moved? We will see. The question now in the air is, will Kawhi Leonard return to the Clippers? Friend of the show, Mark Stein, reported that it's not necessarily a guarantee that he'll be back, and maybe the Heat or the Knicks or some other teams, the Mavs, would show interest. And our guy Woj, your countdown crew brother, said that he's not sold on that. He sees Kawhi with the Clippers. Rostradamus, where do you see Kawhi next year?
As a member of the Clippers, because these all-time great players, Jacoby, you know what they don't want to do? Be like me and bounce all around the NBA if they don't have to. So Kawhi goes to Toronto after leaving San Antonio and wins the championship. Now he picks his destination. He's at where he's at. He be where he want to be. And you know what you don't want to do this offseason? Be bouncing around taking team meetings on crutches because you just had surgery. You stay with the Clippers, you get as much money as possible, and they already have established a relationship that you're going to miss games due to low management. See, what happens now, you go somewhere else, they're like, well, I guess you could play 75 games. Why don't you try it? But in this situation, the Clippers have already basically built the equity with Kawhi Leonard, and he's probably going to play 65 games a year. Paul George ascended, and his confidence grown after this playoff run. So he's shown that he can hold it down when Kawhi's not going to be there. And this for the Clippers, to me, as they move into a new arena, you want to have Kawhi Leonard in uniform. I believe he'll be there.
I think he'll be there as well. I mean, this isn't the Kawhi Leonard free agents that we saw after his championship, finals MVP in Toronto. He was healthy. He was the king of the court. He was at the mountaintop. He just had the finals MVP. After the bubble collapse and after this year, after knowing that he won't even be able to take the floor until probably after the All-Star break, I don't know if that is a player that wants to be in the market or a player that teams are necessarily want to bring into their franchise at the price tag that he's going to demand. Jalen Anthony Rose, you're never going to believe this. You're never going to believe this. There are reports about a star player going to the Los Angeles Lakers. I know that's hard for you to wrap your head around, but the latest is that the Spurs free agent DeMar DeRozan would take less money to come to the Lakers. Now, keep in mind, he was making a lot of money, and the Lakers could offer him the $9.5 million. Something tells me when he talks about getting a haircut, he's talking about a sign and trade, not necessarily signing for $9.5 million a year.
You never get what you deserve in business, only what you have the leverage to negotiate. And what this sounds like here is a seasoned veteran player who's a perennial 20-plus point scorer, understands if he's going to be on a contender, he's not going to make the kind of bread that he made in San Antonio. In theory, the thing that broke he and Kyle Lowry up from Toronto is they both needed to get their money. And so since he went to San Antonio and got his bread, Kyle Lowry stayed in Toronto and got his bread. Those are going to be two of the 500 players that the national media put on the Lakers this offseason.
We're running out of Photoshop. We have so many players on the Lakers so far. Lowry, DeRozan, Westbrook, Beal,
CP3.
Yeah, CP3, Dame. We have so many players on the Lakers. They're going to have a 25-man roster and a $4 million cap, $400 million cap. Exactly. Oh, I forgot Buddy Hield. He's also on the Lakers next year.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.